Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. Today I'm here with actor, writer, and comedian Justin Shaw. Hey, Justin, how's it going?
Hi, I love what you've done with the place. This is great. I love this studio. Oh my God. Where did you get the money for this?
There's a lot of grants out there, so
That's a polite way to say stealing.
yeah.
Guys, we are in the business of money laundering. Thank you for tuning in. This is the Bitcoin money stealing extravagant. Did I say stealing? I meant earning profitably. So tune in at the end. You'll find out how you can win the official Brad Campbell NFT. We're gonna do a giveaway. Like, share, subscribe.
That's right. Thank you for that.
No
Nobody
problem.
wants that NFT, by the way.
I'm not even fully convinced. I know what an NFT. Not they're like, oh, it means non-fungible token. I'm like, that doesn't make it clearer. If anything, I have more questions. Like opposed to a fungible token, I don't know.
Yeah,
Anywho,
it's just a picture, is it not?
yeah,
Like,
thanks. Yeah, you could just that's just a JPEG. Like you could just screenshot that, and then I'm the rich guy. Anyway,
exactly.
we're giving away all these money saving tips here for you fine folks. I don't even know what the name of this podcast is. It's got a brain. It's the Mind Picker.
Mind
Yes.
picker.
Hell
Yes.
yeah, see. I'm not even looking at notes. I'm freewheeling this baby.
Showing off your improv skills right off the top.
Yeah, this is a strong opening.
You're originally from Cardigan, PEI. Hear lots of good people come from there. But
Couple,
yeah,
yeah.
where are you hanging your hat these days?
I am in I was about to say I'm in the smoke, but I guess Toronto's the smoke. I'm the smokier. I'm in Hamilton, just a little south of Toronto. It's like Toronto's basement. It's a hell of a city. Love it. It's every day's a gift. It's a wild town filled with lots of great comedy, lots of great beer, lots of great what else? Donuts, I guess. I'm just basically listing off the interests of Homer Simpson. It's a it's a great city, and it's been really good to me since I moved here a few years ago.
I was going to ask you what your deciding factor was to move there, but it sounds like you named them all.
I did it actually for a girl. That girl is my wife. Is my wife. Thank you very much, Borat. Borat reference, very topical in 2023. Yeah, my now wife and we met when we were living in Alberta, and she has family in Hamilton, and I wanted to be closer to the Maritimes, obviously a lot closer than Alberta. And I always wondered what it'd be like to live in a Grand Theft Auto video game. So why not give it a go?
So you just go around stealing cars and shooting people?
Yes, it's interesting. This is a little. There's a bit of recency bias to the story that I'm going to tell. But I was in a sketch. There's a sketch show that was filming in Hamilton, and it was really fun. And we filmed it 5, 6 months ago, and it was about to be released onto. It was put on Bell 5, but they're putting it on YouTube as well.
Mm-hmm.
And they were chopping up all the sketches, and they're releasing them one at a time, one every week. And this sketch was made a reference, and not quite a light reference, to a stabbing in Jackson Square, which is like the downtown. For listeners that might be listening from Montague, that's our equivalent of the Down East Mall, except it has a movie theater and a lot more stabbings. So the sketch had reference to a stabbing at Jackson Square, and we were hyping it up, ready to release it. And then, sure enough, the day it was to be released today, CBC reported a stabbing in Jackson Square, which is very, very tragic and kind of brings it to the it's the time when it's the least funny. You know what I mean? It's like you're like, right, there are humans at the end of those knives.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say, hey, you want to see me in action? You're gonna have to wait a little while. That sketch won't be put out for a little bit yet, but very funny show. Falcon Bridge is falling down. Very fun show.
I love the name.
Yeah.
I mentioned in the opening that you're a comedian. You've done Just for Laughs, Yuck Yucks, uh, lots of live shows.
Yeah.
What's your joke writing process like?
Oh God, it's you got to write too much, and then you write a whole bunch, and then you go out, you do it all, you see what sticks, see what actually is funny and usable, and you take that, the good stuff, you put that in a pile, you mark it, I don't know, safe or like try again. Um, then you go do that, then see if that sticks again, then just keep repeating it until you find an act that is consistently repeatable and just keep doing it and find new ways to surprise yourself. It's a lot of rinse and repeat. There's really no shortcuts unless you steal your jokes, which don't do that. But yeah, you kind of just have to start and chase an idea, and yeah, write it. Like I always keep a pen close by, or I take a voice memo, or I take like a note memo on my phone. Like literally, if something comes up in a conversation that like that might be something later, I gotta write it down because there's no remembering it later. There's no remembering it in the moment. For me, I have to commit it to something and then get up and do it as soon as I can. And they'll tell you if they like it. And it might be a bad night. Like if the room is bad, maybe you want to give it a second or a third shot before you're like, you know what, maybe I just haven't not enough time in the oven, so to speak.
Right.
Needs more, not quite ripe yet.
That must be quite a process, like having to go up there and kind of letting it all out and seeing if that joke works, not knowing if it's going to the night of.
Yeah, it's at first it's like, how do I describe this? When you have your act, you kind of like, I don't know how I did my first 5 minutes. Like I look back at that now and I'm like, how the hell did I start from nothing? Because the the tricky thing when you're a bit more established, when you have like the jokes that you're like, yeah, this is the stuff, and then you're like, wait, how do I write new ones? How did I make these? So what some comics do is they might open with something familiar, something they know works, and then put in the new bit in the middle. Like maybe if it's a 5 minute set, they might do like 45 seconds of like kind of familiar stuff. And then the middle guts is like pretty new. And then they'll close with something strong. Uh, Other times I just kind of have to give in and just say, screw it. We're doing this. Let's do it. We'll do it all now. We'll make it fun and just dive in just to really reveal like what's and I don't know, I don't know, it really makes me have to fight for the joke. Like it's like I don't have a safety net. I have to like really give it the old college try. There's
Mhm.
really like it's like, look, there's no fallback on this. It's like either this works or it doesn't, and I need to know now. Some people are a little more patient than me, and they'll do like the squeeze it in method. Sometimes I do that, but other nights I might just be tired of my old stuff, and I'm just like, I want to shake up the cobwebs, especially if the room is like mostly comics and it's just people that are like that have seen my act countless times, or if it's a familiar room where there are regulars.
Mhm.
Uh, if I'm gonna go back to a room consistently, I like to have at least a little something different, just to one as a reminder to myself, you should be writing every day. You should have always something kind of new that you're kicking around. And two, just to show them that you're not just kind of resting on your laurels and just doing the same thing over and over. But you do have to repeat those bits over and over to really find as many angles, find your comfort with it, find what surprises you. So to that end, more stage time, different stages as well, different audiences get around, and because like you can't do it if it's just like one room and you're just doing it like I like. And this is just my practice, like what works for other people in different locations, different
Right.
environment, like different settings. It's totally different. This is all listeners. This is just me kind of spouting how I've been working for a while. I really like to get out as often as I can, into as many different places, as many different environments as possible, just to see what holds up, and just get as many reps in as I can.
Right. Do you have any material that you've had since the start that you're still using, or has it all kind of changed as you went along?
Uh, yes, actually, I can say yes to both of the in both those categories. Um, what's interesting is, and I've been saying this for the last year or so. There's this joke I have that I wrote in my first year doing stand up, and I thought it was genius, but I was not a genius. I was a ding dong. I was like 23, and I don't know. I didn't quite have it figured out as much. Like I definitely thought I knew what I was doing.
Hmm.
Not that now I'm more confident that I'm like, okay, I definitely know this is real. This like, what's the phrase? Emperor's clothes. Like the emperor's naked. Let's just trust that. Okay, there are no fancy clothes. Just try to write the best jokes you can. So I'm a lot less. I like to think I'm less delusional. Um, Anywho, I had this genius joke. I wrote it in my notebook, and I was like, "Oh yeah, they're gonna love this." And then I do it, and it's like not that great. And I'm like, "Wow, so much for my genius, my undiscovered genius." So I kept it in my book, and years and years later, like I think this was 20 when I first did it, it would have been like 2015. And then as Diana and I were packing to leave, when we were moving from Alberta at the end of 2019, I was going through boxes and I found my old book and I found this joke and I started like laughing at how bad or how absurd my early material was. I was just like, oh, what the hell was I thinking? And then Diana was like, my wife's name, Diana. She's like, well, what kind of jokes were in there? What were you doing? And I was like, oh, I had the stupid one and I read it. And she was losing her mind laughing. She's like, why aren't you doing that always? And I'm like, because I'm not an idiot. Why do you think? But then she's like, just try it. And sure enough, the last gig I had in Alberta before we moved, I did it and it crushed. And I was like, huh. And then I just kept going, doing it again and again. And it now lives in my act. And usually I think it plays stronger in a bit of an older crowd.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's one that I come back to and it's nice to have in my pocket. But I look back and I think it was because I wasn't a strong enough comic back then. Like I had this idea that wasn't quite fully fleshed out, but then 5, 6, 7 years later from when I wrote it, uh, I have a lot more capabilities as a performer and a lot more sense of pace as well on stage, which is important. So yeah, now I get to do it a lot. And yeah, the joke. I guess I'm just talking around the joke. I should tell you the joke, otherwise this is torture.
Yeah, ultimate cock
Okay,
tease, Justin Shaw here.
ultimate cut, just blue balling. The joke is about when I was little, I wanted a snowmobile for Christmas, and my parents said no, but instead they got me a crazy carpet. Uh, and their reason for not getting me a snowmobile was they said it was too dangerous. So they got me a crazy carpet instead. And basically, the whole joke is the description of the mechanics of I say mechanics with air quotes of the crazy carpet. Because usually when I bring it up, it'll be a crowd of people in their 30s, 40s, 50s. You get the occasional person in their 20s,
Hmm.
maybe a person who didn't grow up in Canada. Maybe they had parents that loved them, and they don't know what a crazy carpet is. So what I have up my sleeve is the description of the crazy carpet, which is it's basically 60 cents worth of a sheet of plastic with 2 holes cut in the top. That's the steering wheel. And you stick your little grabbers in there and you hope for the best. You take your gift outside with your best friend Todd, who's also a fucking idiot, and you climb to the tallest hill you can find. And Todd, he starts asking useless questions like, "Hey man, where are the brakes on that thing?" And you're like, "You see those trees? the bottom of the hill, those are the brakes. And then you glide down the hill, having a magical Christmas adventure, and you glide over a pothole. And well, if it were a snowmobile, it wouldn't mean anything. But that's the magic of the crazy carpet. You glide over that hole, you ignite in the air like Hiroshima. You're in the air 20, 30, 40 feet, and there's you and Todd and the crazy carpet, and it's -40 with wind chill, and that cocksucker's frozen solid. It hits a tree, it shatters like shrapnel. Todd's dead. You got to pick up the evidence, and recess is almost over. And I get pretty tangential when I do that bit.
Oh, that's great.
But if you hear it in the, I try not to do it on the, like, just in the mic here. I don't want to get too pitchy, but when I do it, it's one of the more animated, more vocally intense bits that I do. And what I like about my own material is it has a gradations, like a natural. It starts here, goes here to here to here to here to here, and it builds and builds and builds. But when I was a newer comic, I didn't really have that innate sense of pace yet, I guess. And that's just something that time kind of taught me, and practice.
Yeah, I love the obvious irony right off the start about couldn't get a snowmobile, but got a crazy carpet. Anyone that knows, like, right there, you know, this is going to be a great story.
Because we had like, we lived in snowmobile territory, because we lived in Kings County, and that's like that's 90% field and 5% graveyard. Like, and that 5% graveyard is all people who died in snowmobile and crazy carpet related accidents.
Exactly.
All the dead people. Yeah, and then there's the 5% of the living. We all had to take the same bloody school bus to go to Montague High School. And I guess listeners should know that we grew up in the same neck of the woods, didn't we, in PEI?
That's right. Yeah. Same school. Worked together at Superstore
for a while. Yeah. What an awful job. What a heinous, awful job. Lovely people. Just, I don't like, even now I look at groceries, they're too expensive. And I look back at this, and maybe you have similar opinions, maybe you don't, and that's totally fair. I look back, it was the worst time a person can be alive. They're like 16, between the ages of like 16 and 20. We're just the worst people. We're just the loudest, dumbest, poorest judgment people, working for people in their, gotta say, what, 50s, like 60s, and just, they have to deal with us. They're on the clock, and they have, like, some of them just, they're like, this is the authority I need to wield. And we're just like, I don't want no authority. So it's just, as far as like a social ecosystem goes, it was not a great time. And of course, to cap it all off, we're dealing with people. Oh, it didn't scan the first time. That must mean it's free, right? It's like, get the hell out of here. What planet are you from, lady? Beat it. And then you get your 15-minute break, which you can either go upstairs and sit in a room that smells like farts and cigarettes from the 90s, or you can rip up to the Wendy's and get yourself a small fries that you can hopefully eat by the time you walk back in -14 degrees, only to see a mountain of shopping carts that you're like, well, I'm going to have to get those when my break is done. Then you're barely in the door, and you got someone standing there in a little vest saying, you mind grabbing those on your way in? You're like, Jesus, I thought I was off the clock. Clearly, I have a lot of trauma I'm working through, Brad.
I can tell.
But what a superstore it was.
I remember hearing you trying a lot of the voices you just used on customers while you were ringing in their groceries too. So I'm glad that they've carried over.
Yeah, I mean, like, the voices I kind of do. When I started doing stand-up, I tried to really be as like clear, like singular voice as possible. Like, I'm just reading my jokes out loud, kind of flat for me anyway. Just knowing how weird I actually am, but just kind of trusting my innate weirdness. It's just me being me, baby.
When did you know comedy was something you wanted to do?
Oh God. I think I think back at this and there's a couple answers. I clearly love talking. Um, but I've as a job, as like a thing to do, uh, I didn't know stand up was a thing people could just go up and really do. Like I
Mhm.
didn't know the accessibility of it until I was in university. I think it was 20. Yeah, it was 20. It was 10 years ago. Holy shit! 10-year happy 10th birthday.
Hey,
Yeah. It was 10 years ago. Taylor Carver is a great comic. He's now
hilarious.
based in Charlottetown. He and I were buddies because we worked at the Guild Theater together. And I knew he did stand up. He knew I did improv, and he suffered with me. Like, I don't. He put up with my pretentious theater school brain, and but he knew I was a pretty silly guy, and I was pretty confident on stage. He needed somebody to fill in for 5 minutes on a show. It was like very last minute. It was like 48 hours notice, and I was like, "Yeah, let's let her rip." Because I think it was that short turnaround that made me go, I know this is something I've always like kind of wanted to do, but I don't have time to think or really, I don't have time to be worried about this. And if I didn't have that kind of condensed timeline and that kind of push, uh, I would have done it, but it would have been a lot more fussing and a lot more procrastinating, I think. So this
Right.
really held my feet to the fire. But I guess to speak to like this innate, like I want to do this at some point. Um, God, like growing up, I don't know if this was the same for you, but I grew up two channels, right?
Yep.
Like I had a black and white little TV. We had CTV, that was channel 9, and then you had CBC, channel 13. And Friday night, when you grow up in the middle of nowhere with no friends, on Friday night on CBC, you had the comedy night on CBC. It was just for laughs,
Mhm.
22 minutes, Royal Canadian Air Farce. I think those are the main ones. That was
Yep.
like a good 2-hour chunk that I was like, this is the best. And then on Thursdays in Channel 9, you had to stay up past like 9 p.m. I remember like keeping the TV on in my room, keeping it real low, watching Whose Line Is It Anyway on like the terrible grainy CTV channel that we could get.
Mhm.
But yeah, just watching it and just this truly like primal laughter, like just this deep, hideous laugh of like watching these people be so funny. And then I remember when I was 16, my friend loaned me his copy of I think it was Robin Williams live on Broadway, and it's this listeners, if you want quintessential, perfectly funny Robin Williams, his Broadway show is phenomenal. And I don't know if it might have been a different show every night when he did it live, but the one
Mhm.
HBO captured is so funny. I watched it 16 years old. It was like a Saturday afternoon, just kind of watching it alone in my room. And I'm laughing my head off. My mom comes in the room and goes, "You having a good time in here with all your friends?" And I'm like getting roasted by Cheryl Shaw. But this, um, the exposure, I guess, from my childhood of like, I deeply, deeply want to be funny. And I
Mhm.
still really do. I just love that ability to make people laugh. And even when you do it once, you still like you chase the next time. It's an addiction, really.
It is. It's a high. Anytime
Yeah.
you make someone laugh, you instantly feel good. There's instant gratification there.
Yeah, exactly. And then and they're like, "Oh, they probably think I'm pretty cool," but really, I'm like making a joke about how much of a friggin' dork I am. So, you know, it's a high that doesn't get you too high.
Yeah, that's right. The last thing I want to talk about, you once did a one-man show about wrestling.
Yeah, yeah, I did.
Um, I'm a big fan of wrestling, and I'm pretty sure you are too.
Yeah.
Was that a way of like playing out your dream to get in a wrestling ring, or?
A little bit. I was part of a workshop in Montreal while I was in school, because I wasn't busy enough going to school 6 days a week. My Sundays, I was like, I don't want to be alone with my thoughts. And there was a writer's workshop for emerging artists, and the unit that they were doing was on developing solo theater. And the biggest suggestion they had was write about what you know. And I think where I was at in my development as an artist, I really, I was like, don't want to confront feelings of uh, abandonment from like feeling homesick, or don't want to confront feelings of matters of the heart. I want to talk about wrestling. So I wrote and wrote and wrote for about 2 years about wrestling, and it's more of a theater piece. It's the shows I build as solo shows. Nowadays, they're really straddling the line between storytelling and stand up, but the wrestling play was full on theater. Like, it's me playing a role, telling a story about a character who quits his job as an English teacher to pursue his dream of being a wrestler. And it really explores the what is real, what isn't real, like what does quote real mean,
Mhm.
and the idea of chasing a dream. What does it mean to succeed? What does it mean to fail? And a cool thing about that show, the I took it around to a few places, but the best run of it, by a wide margin, was when I premiered it in Charlottetown at the Island Fringe, because we built a wrestling ring in the park. Oh, I should know the name of that park. It's the one next to Rod, the hotel.
Oh,
Um,
is it Victoria Park?
no, it's this is the worst part of a podcast, when two guys can't remember the name of a thing that we
Yeah.
could just Google. But anyway, it's downtown. It's in a
Yeah.
park. We built this ring. My dad actually was like, "Yeah, I'll help," and I'm like, it's like a real cats and cradle moment. And we built this thing, and it was interesting. Like, I don't know what wrestling fans thought about it. I know a lot of theater people were pretty jazzed about it. The funniest thing to me was all these theater people, these comedy people that I really respect and admire. They were like, "Oh, that ending, that was such a wow!" It was it was like, "Oh, cool." And then apparently, Cowboy Mike Hughes, the wrestler from Red Rock Wrestling, PEI, he came to it. I used to go to those events all the time when I was a kid, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And he came. He watched it, and he's very kind. He was like, "Good job." Apparently, he said at the end of the show, "I did not know what was going on." The one guy who like lived it didn't get it, and I was just like, shit. Well, there you go. The only people it didn't resonate with was wrestlers, so I don't know. I don't know the merit of the piece. Very, very conceptual, very right at. It was the kind of show that was very right at a theater school. Just like, I'm gonna pull out every trick in the book.
That sounds fantastic. I'm sure it's not Mike Hughes, but who is your favorite wrestler?
This is total recency bias. I I'm full on the bandwagon once again. I'm with the cult of personality. Give me back. Give me that CM Punk.
Yeah.
I'm hooked up. I'm dialed in. I don't even care. He's a nightmare, but he's my nightmare. I want the best for him so much. I'm just like, just stay out of trouble. Just
Yeah.
come on, man. Really, really big fan of Brian Danielson, Daniel Bryan. Like him a lot. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of the new guys, they don't quite do it for me. I do like Moxley as well. He was really cool. I love what they're doing with Roman Reigns. It's the tribal chief.
Yeah. Fantastic.
I think that's unprecedented storytelling. What about you? What turns you?
I'm fully behind CM Punk again. I didn't think I was going to
Yes.
be, but that return really got me. Um,
That was wicked.
yeah, I'm a Rollins guy too. I really like Seth.
Um,
And
can I ask when's this coming out, just so I can like frame my prediction accordingly?
it
So, yeah.
will be Sunday.
Okay, cool. So it's like, all right, within a couple days.
Yep.
Sweet. So I just want my predictions. Listeners, this is being recorded on the 28th of November. If there are wrestling fans dialed in, this is the Justin Shaw CM Punk full on prediction. I made this prediction before Raw last night. My prediction is Punk is going to come and enter the Royal Rumble. I think that'll be his first match back. He will win the Rumble, and I think he'll last. He'll enter from the second spot, and he will win the whole Rumble. Kind of close the loop. Like 10 years later, that was his last match. Now it's his first match. He wins. He challenges Rollins for the title, and it's like you can see that coming a mile away, right? The Rollins Punk feud. That's got to be inevitable.
Exactly.
That'll main event night 1 for the title. Punk loses, puts over Rollins. That's my theory.
I like it. And there's a very good chance that could happen. I almost want to keep doing a prediction show with you. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I think that would be fun. I think someone said online, like maybe a day ago, they're like, "Oh yeah, it's gonna be Rollins Punk at Rumble," and I'm like, "That's early." I don't know. Like, I think the payday is Mania personally, but I don't know. Or maybe it could be a best of 3 kind of thing, like a rubber match, but who knows?
Yeah, you got to let that like stew a little bit. There's too much to do with that story. You can't rush it.
Exactly.
I know your December is going to be pretty busy. You got a lot going on. Do you want to tell everybody what you have going and where they can follow you?
Yeah, totally. Listeners, if you're still listening after this deeply, deeply embarrassing wrestling deep dive that I just went on, God, whoever's still here.
God bless them.
Listeners, if you're on PEI, I'll be back on Prince Edward Island December 15th. I've got a show Friday night, December 15th at Lone Oak Brewing Co. in Borden Carlton. Ain't a party unless Borden Carlton says so. You can get tickets on my website, JustinShamedy.com. That's like Justin Shaw plus comedy, Shamedy. You can follow me on socials at Justin Shamedy on Instagram. I'm not really on Twitter or X or whatever it's called anymore. But if we got people in the rest of Canada that are listening, check me on Instagram. I post my show schedule there.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. Congratulations on all your success so far. I look forward to seeing what comes in the future.
It's only taken 10 years to be an overnight success. That's all it's taken.
Nailed it.
Thanks, buddy.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
That does it for this episode. If you enjoyed the show, please make sure to rate it and follow along so you don't miss any future episodes. Thanks for listening. Bye.